Yep, and let's see if our players are already here. As yet, Andrea has a Castle Lockman and passing of the turn. You know, the memes never stop when it comes to this deck, when a Castle Lockman having the mana. But on turn one, not always the end of the world, as Taylor does have a Hallowed Fountain into... I'm not actually sure what that card is, Tom. They've got me. Oh, it's Mishra's Research Desk.
Ooh, is that the... Yes, there we go. A lot of these little like trinkets, these cheap artifacts in the deck, powering cards like Emry, and then also keeping the cards firing with Ascendancy on your combo turn.
Yep, very cool card. Did you see how Thoughtseize come down the Junji Ito Secret Lair? An all-timer. As it looks like we have Jace Friends Prodigy, Bitter Reunion, Portable Hole, and Emry Lurker of the Loch. Pretty interesting. I wonder what the take is.
Yeah,
here,
so tough to know exactly. Yeah, it's tough to know, right? Like if you have a removal spell lined up for the Emry or the Jace, then you can probably afford to leave those there. Maybe you take the Bitter Reunion, honestly, just as the card which can kind of like repair whatever hole the Thoughtseizes is meant to leave in your hand.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like JVP here is the take. Oh, and the second Thoughtseize. Okay, all right. So now, you know, looks like, we're going down to 16 here. And now we're just going to take the Emry. We're going to take the 2 creatures and just call it a day. Probably a good sign. She doesn't have much spot removal in hand. You know, her deck full of that. So if you're Taylor here, you have a good chance. Like, okay, Bone Crusher, Giant, and Friends, they're maybe not coming down anytime soon. Taylor here playing a Riverglide Pathway. And to Bitter Reunion. Gonna discard a land and draw 2 new cards. Bitter Reunion is such a cool card popping up in, multiple formats. You do see,
and in this deck is a card which on your combo turn can let Emry do something right away. It gives Rona haste, gives Jace Prince Prodigy haste. So a great card on turn 2 just to fill your draw, and then a great card on turn 4 or 5 when you're trying to actually go off.
Yep, and we're gonna see a Fable the Mirror Breaker cast off a Haunted Ridge here. Get our little Shaman token. If you want to get a token like that, you can come out and win one of these big 10K events. All of our winners get one of these. Steven Dykemans is underway. So you see a Portable Hole, take care of the Goblin Shaman. And then Rona, Herald of Invasion, comes down. That's sort of one of the key cards in this deck. Call it Jeskai Ascendancy, but Rona, not bad. It's like a double land discard. Off the Fable.
Yeah, these Ascendancy combo decks with Emry and so on, they did exist previously, but Rona is the reason that people are actually embracing this concept now and trying it out again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matt Nass, sort of a combo expert, has done really well with this deck recently, has really touted enjoying it. And, when Matt Nass sort of likes a combo deck, my ears perk up, as we are going to see the main deck Duress sort of go the distance. As there's a Treasure Cruise in hand, Dom. No more, as it gets discarded by that Duress timely card there. Yeah,
that's gladly take that one out of the way for sure.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like we're tanking. Yeah, it looks like we are just going to play this Blood Crypt. Maybe some thoughts, do we want to hold this for our blood? Do we want to be able to activate Castle Lochthwain? Seems like a small decisions, but these do have huge ramifications, as Rona is immediately going to activate the loot here. And looks like we have another Rona. We're going to discard that. We're going to play our Mox Amber, untap Rona. Uh-oh. Time for another looty situation. As it looks like we drew a Spirebluff Canal. So hand Spirebluff Canal, Bitter Reunion. One's going to go to the yard. Looks like it is Spirebluff Canal. And then we still have this Mishra's. Yeah, we can, the Mishra's Workshop here, we can exile the top 2 and play one. Looks like we had a Pathway and a Skrelv. Skrelv's legendary, Dom. That's another loot if we play it.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah, you can easily activate Rona 3 or 4 times just by casting your spells and then casting more spells, because Rona is finding more spells to cast. So even from this art, Taylor doesn't really have a lot going on, but still has a lot going on somehow.
Yeah, we are going to see an activation of Rona here. And it looks like we're going to discard that Bitter Reunion, so that new card we picked up, whatever it was better. And it looks like it was third path Iconoclast, sorry. And that's going to generate a bunch of bodies. If I had been on the board earlier, you can see how, a top deck Treasure Cruise like that might put Taylor way over the top of this Rakdos deck. As we did get a huge raid from Jim Davis and friends. Thanks, Jim. Oh, did I steal your thunder, Dom?
Yeah, 600 players or viewers. I do want to thank Jim. Yeah, 600 in that raiding party, joining the 500 that we had here before. A really nice boost. So we welcome all of you to a nice day of Pioneer here on the NRG series. We're seeing this really cool Jeskai Ascendancy combo deck trying to do a thing here in the beach match area.
Yeah, and Andrea here taking a moment and thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? I
And
want to offer this
after only a few minutes, we can report that on the back table, a Cliff Boyardee on the Boris Convoke deck that we flagged up fast aggro deck, already taking game 1 over Mono Green Devotion. So the villain is going down there quickly over on the back table. We'll see if we have time to cut to that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Dom, don't give up all the secrets. You know, we might get to watch a whole match. Who knows? As we do see a Mishra's Workshop here get activated again. Portable Hole and Seachrome Coast are the hits. Looks like that Portable Hole timely. Gonna get a 3rd class token, and looks like we're gonna be able to hit that Blood Tithe Harvester if we don't have a response with it on the stack. And
this board is getting cluttered up real fast.
Yeah, it is not an easy to read board state. I will say this though, Taylor kind of has everything ready to go, which I really appreciate. It's got the tokens, you know, it's ready with the proper ones. Taylor is sort of like, hey, I'm playing this complicated deck, I'm gonna do it, and taking a good amount of time to think through the decisions, right? Taylor's like, all right, do I want to hold this land so I can loot more with Rona? Do I need to play this land to, you know, potentially play a spell and pop off more? Really like the attention to detail Taylor has going on here. As Andrea draws her turn, takes a big old bank. Dom's audio is a little off today, chat, but don't worry, we're working on fixing it. / you know, that's life sometimes. It's hard to contain how
we have some creative solutions that we're going to try. Yes, have some solutions we're going to try after this round. Hopefully you can hear my dulcet tones in crystal clear quality after that. But Mason will be taking the lead for the time being.
Yep. That's, you know what it means? You just get to hear more of my sultry tunes. As it looks like we're thinking, I'm trying to figure out exactly what she could have drawn here. I didn't see her hand, but clearly there's something going on. And it looks like another Fable the Mirror Breaker situation. Okay, might have been thinking about maybe wanting to activate Bankbuster first, maybe pop a blood. Really want to think through your whole turn. This is a big thing we sort of talk about a lot here in the booth is when you're planning your turn out or you're playing, make sure to think through everything you're doing and then act on it. This is going to allow you to sort of make sure you're not making any sort of awkward mistakes or misplays. You know, chat, imagine every time you've played a card and as you're playing it, you went, oh, I should have done this instead. Thinking through your whole turn, taking a second to process that will help you catch those mistakes here. And that's what we see some of our best players here on the tour do consistently is think through their turn, especially the tough ones. As we are seeing Taylor here sort of do a similar thing. Looks series events. As it looks like we have 3 mana. Oh, we're putting Giganta in hand. I didn't even notice the Giganta over there. And then we're going to activate Rona. I like this. Giganta, you know, 3 mana, deal up a card. It looks like we're just going to discard it. And Dom, we drew Treasure Cruise. So that's going to be pretty good. Looks like Taylor has both Emry and Treasure Cruise in hand. Leaning on Emry first, once they have, you know, the full delve knowledge. Hits a Rona, another Treasure Cruise, an Emry, and a Retraction Helix. And yep, here's the Treasure Cruise. Here's the Iconoclast. Get another token. Yeah, we're going to see Taylor exile a bunch of cards that you can't JVP War Emry back. Yeah. It is a little sad though to see Giganta reduced to what is my purpose? It is to spend 3 mana and be discarded to Rona. But it is sort of life in that way.
And honestly, that is often its role in these Ascendancy combo decks is you want to have spare cards in hand to discard, and this just is a card that you can put into your hand. It's a black rectangle, or blank rectangle, as people like to say.
Yes. We do see a Sacred Foundry shocked in, and is that another Portable Hole? It looks to be, and that's going to trigger the Iconoclast, and that's going to take the Goblin Shaman token. We are going to see a crewing of the, we might crew the Bankbuster first. And decide, you know, if you want to expose that to any sort of, I guess there's no mana up, but, you know, you maybe don't want to block with it, or you want to have your 2/2. And it looks like we are going to crew the Bankbuster just so we have a blocker. You know, some attacks get in there. Third Path Iconoclast might want to trade with a Fable, but not anymore. There's a Bank Buster in the way. And we're going to get a draw for turn. And we have a Fable, the Mirror Breaker trigger on the stack. So we're going to figure out exactly what we want to discard and sort of do the thing. I know Twitch chat isn't used to Fable, the Mirror Breaker. It's a card that's sort of fringe in play. It's sort of a choice that certain Rakdos players choose to make. So just so you know, when chapter 2 happens, you can discard up to 2 and draw up to 2. Looks like we're just going to discard 1 Sokenzan and draw 1. So that's a pretty cool card. Maybe consider it putting in your deck or picking up some copies from NRGstore.com.
Yeah, the Jund deck that we saw in the feature match last round, only 3 copies. Got to make room for those green cards somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with the Fable, you see, you find more Fables because of the churn through your deck. So really, it's like you're playing 9 copies when you think about it.
I see.
Yeah. As we do have an army of portable holes over at the top of the screen. Just all 3 of them buckled up together. Like, yeah, we got stuff going on.
Hard to even see what is under all of those portable holes at this stage. Everything's just like clustered over there on the left. As part of the, I want to say 15 permanents that Taylor currently controls.
Yeah, we also seen a braid here. It's funny, I was about to mention, all she has is 1 a braid in order to answer it. But even if she does, Emry can just come back and maybe get something that's actually even better than before. So we are going to see Skrelv activated, spend 2 life to protect the Emry. We don't know the color that's named. Maybe it's per red to prevent any sort of attacks. But it's going to force her hand if she has a sorcery speed kill spell, where something like a Dreadbore won't be usable this turn on Emry. And it looks like we're moving to combat with this. Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, I thought we were picking up the Fable to attack. And it looks like we do have Power Word Kill that we're going to use in response to kill the Emry. Make sure, no more Mishra's Workshops don't come back from the graveyard, and Taylor can sculpt the hand. But Taylor's sort of in a dominating position here, despite kind of getting ripped apart in the early turns. So it really shows the power of Treasure Cruise.
Rona's going to be activated again. I wonder if we are ever going to see Rona just transform this game and get busy in the combat step, or do we just want to do this? We want to just loot 2 or 3 times every turn and keep the cards flowing.
Yeah, a lot of different choices there. That's a good point. She is a 5/5 trample on the backside. That's pretty big. And we'd be able to attack through here. And that does have the weird clause of, casting cards from your opponent's hand or whoever does the damage to it. So you might see something cool like that pop up.
Yeah, we've seen some funky decks in Modern where you're trying to you transform your Rona and then you try and deal damage to it with your own stuff. So you randomly hit your own Emrakul from your hand or something. There's a lot of big dreams you can chase with Rona if you're so inclined.
Yeah, I have tried flipping Rona and invoking a Fury in the same turn just to
okay.
I haven't hit yet because you haven't seen the Twitter screenshot, but one day I'll get there. I'll earn my screenshotting.
Oh, I'll retweet that bad boy. Don't you worry.
Hell yeah, I cannot wait. Hopefully we see that here on the NRG series tomorrow, because we are getting our Pioneer 10K today, but we got some Modern action for you tomorrow. Maybe Taylor will be back with some of that spice, as we are going to see an activation of the Reckoner Bank Buster. We do have double Fable, which is normally a somewhat scary end game, but Taylor has so many chump blockers right now. His life total is kind of good, and Andrea doesn't have many lands to make a bunch of copies, so it's sort of an awkward spot where normally you're pretty happy to be in this place, but no longer the case as we see a Bone Crusher Giant stomping the Skrelv.
Yeah, Andrea doing her best to just trade off with permanents as Rakdos is good at doing, but when your opponent has 15 different permanents, that doesn't sound so appealing anymore.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it looks like we have a Blood Crypt as the land for turn. Taylor top decking, but this Rona does get 2 draws a turn unless we want to flip it over to the 5/5. Yeah, it looks like Taylor's just missing something here. Also, when we find Jeskai Ascendancy, we're going to have a lot of pressure out of nowhere.
Oh, we are popping off if we ever find Ascendancy, but despite a lot of looks, it seems to be elusive so far.
Yeah, and we are going to see. Oh
no! No, we found it, Mason. There it is.
Oh no, the Jeskai Ascendancy is going to the graveyard, and yeah, she's like, wait a minute, your deck plays Ascendancy? Hold up, what's going on? Let me take a check here. Let me double see what's going on. How many more of these bad boys do you have left? Because we've seen Taylor sort of stabilize, but winning the game typically involves either the combo or having, Jeskai Ascendancy sort of value through there. And with another one gone, this might be the sort of turn she needed to turn the corner. Taylor's tanking. So is it 5 mana to flip Rona? Can we see the Rona flip happen?
I sure hope so. Yeah, we might have to change course now. There it is.
Yeah. Listen, I've lost all my ascendancies. It's time to get big.
Yeah, and that, we wish we had a layer of protection there with the Skrelv, but it's fine. We'll get it done here. So the 2 Iconoclasts and the Rona coming in now.
Yeah, we're bashing. And that is 8 damage. We might see a no block here to preserve both our Fable and the Mirror Breakers, but if we don't, we're at 8 life. And like I mentioned before, it's the Obliterator. I'm going to go with, because it's Strixhaven Dom, the Academy Obliterator is the backside of Rona. I don't actually know the name. Is that right?
I want to say Tolarian Obliterator. So Tolaria does have an academy in it, famously, a notable academy, but I don't think
Strixhaven. Dom, you're not a lore expert. You gotta get you on some lore videos, dude. Come on, different planes. Dom, do you even play Magic? Now I'm starting to question everything as we do see a third path Iconoclast get blocked. If you don't know the planes going on, how are we supposed to have this happen?
I just show up and try in vain, apparently, to talk about it sometimes.
And it happens. All right, so we have the name. It's Rona Tolarian Obliterator. You are correct. I guess she wasn't on Strixhaven. That's on me. All right, you win, Dom. Hey, good luck.
Who's the lore expert now, Mason?
Listen, I'm just saying, I thought she was on Strixhaven. Talaria's not on Strixhaven. That's all I'm saying. As we do see some name up from Andrea here. That's on me, though. I will hold the L there, and I'll do #better. As it looks like we might be wanting to activate Bankbuster here. Might mean we don't have the cards we're looking for. Yeah, and Taylor sort of is now turned into this weird beatdown deck. Our rounds are timed here on NRG, 50 minutes. We don't have a clock on screen where you can the NRG series, but it is, something we're paying attention to. Looks like we are going to play our Bone Crusher Giant, get it on the board. And yeah, just play our Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Let us have some more mana for activating Castle on turns and stuff like that as Taylor gets a big on tap there with all the lands and can start battling.
Yeah, this is why the Rona decks are feasible, I think, because if you have to, I need to get my Rona, and then I need part B and part C, and they all have to work together. Well, that's great if everything's going right, but sometimes things go wrong, and if that's the case, I have my 1-card combo of I flip Rona and I get busy, and I just start attacking you, and okay, there's Skrelv, so that's another layer of protection for the Rona potentially, and that Rona can come back every turn off the Emry if it comes down to that.
Yeah. And, there's other stuff in there, too, that we can get. So she's in a bit of a hard spot here. And Taylor is starting to really take over, as we are going to see this Bitter Union get popped that was underneath there from 19 turns ago or whatever, giving haste to all the stuff. That's going to mean our Skrelv can get protection from red. So we can actually get an attack in pretty cleanly here. Yeah, Skrelv, gives hexproof and then can't be blocked along with Toxic 1. Bam. Infect. We can see an activation of Record or Bankbuster to chump block if we wanted to, but looks like we're going to see just a draw real quick here. Get a pilot and make a treasure token. Probably don't want to block this, even with your pilot token, because whatever cards you draw could be cast. But maybe she thinks she just has to take a risk too. We'll see. You should also know the card in hand. If it's a land or whatever, who really cares? All right, we're tanking here. Tolarian Obliterator doesn't mess around. And Dom, you mentioned sort of the backup plan of this deck of if it's just A, B, C, whatever, the deck can sort of get picked apart, whatever. And that's what Rakdos has leaned on historically. But I will say this, that, this version of the deck here, having more B plans and sort of being sort of a, an engine-y combo deck, sort of lets it battle through these Rakdos decks a lot better. And we're seeing Taylor sort of do that compared to sort of these more all-in Tyvar builds we've seen in the past, which do have a good amount of redundancy and cleanness to the package, but sometimes they're just a little too one-note against certain cards. Does look like we're going to fall to 4. We're going to make a copy of our Reckoner Bankbuster after crewing the end of turn. So we're going to be able to tap that and draw more. Yeah, crew the tap there, lets you copy with Fable, so heads up play there. Andrea,
Now I'm having visions of I crew my Reckoner Bankbuster with an Ascendancy in play, and then I'm drawing cards, and I'm untapping it, and I'm drawing more cards, and I don't know. This has got me cooking.
All right, Dom. Carry added, Bankbuster. We crew it up, and then now we're drawing and mana neutraling. Can I get a
okay? Can't crew it with the bank. Can't crew it with the character. It's got to find some other random 3-power guy, but we'll figure it out. We can do it.
The Bankbuster makes it on its own, Dom. It's a self-solving problem.
Or hey, now if we're triggering Ascendancies, our characters are getting real big there, and they can't attack, but they can do some other stuff. One of those things, they can crew Bankbusters, so...
You get it, Dom. Finally,
Let's
someone
go.
who sees the vision. We know what? We need to delete the VOD. We can't have that getting out to the public. That's too good information. As we're going to see a draw here. But she's trying to figure out exactly, okay, I have a lot of 2-minute kill spells. I just need to find one. And if I can find the one, I'll be in a great spot. We do see Blood Tithe Harvester, and we already had a blood in play. So now Fail the Mirror Breaker can activate, and we're going to be able to minus down this Tellurian Obliterator and clean up the battlefield a fair bit. But I wonder if we can get a chump attack in just with everything and sort of push through, or maybe, trigger, if we do draw Jeskai Ascendancy, some damage. It'll be interesting to see what exactly happens. As the Obliterator is minused, so it didn't take any damage, so we don't see its ability trigger as well.
Yeah, although those 1/1s might finally come into play here. Just Andrea's only at 4, can only block a certain number of things. Like maybe those 1/1s can actually be that missing piece that gets across the finish line.
Yeah, we also have Misa's research desk, still in our graveyard. So we can play that, get another token, find some more cards here for Taylor. Taylor still has another 4th portable hole in the deck. So that's a card that could actually, sort of clean up things a little bit. So a lot of options here for Taylor. Looks like it's going to lead on a Seachrome Coast and just pass the turn. Interesting.
Okay. And goes without saying, if we ever find one of those elusive copies of Jeskai Ascendancy, we are off for the races. But Andrea almost on the verge of stabilizing, it looks like.
Yeah, especially with this Fable and Blood Tithe Harvester. We can see a lot of different things start happening here. It's going to be very interesting to see what exactly she chooses to do. Looks like she's going to copy the Blood Tithe Harvester. Taylor allows it.
Up to 4 blood tokens now.
Yeah. And those blood tokens do add up. Like she will eventually hit a land pocket, and having some way to, sort of move through that pocket there will be very important for stabilizing. Taylor's going to protect the Emry once again. Probably naming Pro black, maybe red, who knows. If you name red, you can stop attackers, and Taylor does only have 12 life, although probably wouldn't see Andrea be attacking too much.
Yeah, notably, it's not protection in the traditional sense. It just means you get hexproof from that color and can't be blocked, which isn't really relevant on the opponent's turn. So Bone Crusher could still get busy if it wants to.
Yeah, it looks like we are going to activate a blood now. Discard another Blood Crypt.
Is that a flavor win or a flavor fail if the blood token discards the Blood Crypt?
I think it's a flavor win, because you're using the blood to sort of move through that part of your life, It's like you're moving past this. We do have another Reckoner Bankbuster on the board. That's going to be some more cards, and, Taylor has cards like Treasure Cruise, which we saw sort of push Taylor really far ahead in game number 1. Earlier in this game 1. But Andrea here has a bunch of cards that actually just generate raw, advantage. And so Taylor, while looting and stuff like that, has, seen a lot of the deck, hasn't gone up the cards a bunch outside the Treasure Cruise, and it's starting to catch up with them.
Yeah, and notably one card that we haven't seen from Andrea's side this game so far is Shieldred, right? You can imagine those turns where Taylor was activating Rona 3 times a turn. If Shieldred was in play there, that's a hefty tax, which you can't really afford to pay. So one of the missing links, which if Andrea ever finds Shieldred, great for her, but maybe on the verge of stabilizing even without it.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to bring back Skrelv again. We're sort of presenting a loop. I will bring Skrelv, you will make a blood and kill my Skrelv, we will continue. So of course Emry will probably die came to the end. Also worth noting, she has a Mutavault here and Castle Lochlann sort of bridging the gap between the two divides, right? As we do see these blood tokens I just talked about, you're going to hit a land patch eventually, and having a way to sort of churn through those lands is going to really matter. And she just did there, landed the land with the discarded blood. Wow, what a game so far. I wonder if Taylor exiled Mishra's research decks to that first treasure cruise because they had to, and that's why that's not coming back, because it also has Unearth. All right, we're going to kill the Skrelv again. We decided to get rid of that and not worry about killing the Emry. Probably fine with that interaction still happening. Oh, it looks like we have a fatal push, and yeah, that's going to trigger a revolt from Blood Tithe, and Taylor's had enough. I'm too far behind. I don't think I can actually win. And Andrea wins game number 1 in impressive fashion. Looked really bad for her for multiple turns there, Dom.
Yeah, we're really on the verge of death at any point if any Jeskai Ascendancy shows up, any removal spell. It looks like the tokens might be going wide, and you kind of wonder now, like, and I'm sure Taylor will go back and check the VOD after this. Was there a turn where if Rona had transformed the turn sooner, right? You start to wonder, could I have stitched this together in some way? But Andrea did an impressive job of stabilizing there, even without a card like Shieldred, and so we'll be up a game heading to the sideboard games.
Yeah, speaking of sideboard, let's check out these players' sideboard and see exactly what they have here. Taylor here has 4 Rending Volley, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Silence, 2 Abrupt Decay, Pithy Needle, Roast, and the Companion of Giganta. Dom, what do you like here?
Yeah, I don't think any of these cards really stand out. And with a combo deck like this, you don't really want to be just trading off one for one. You kind of need all your cards to contribute to your game plan if possible. So I expect Taylor will present basically the same deck with maybe 1 or 2 slight changes.
Yeah, I imagine so too. With these decks, you really don't want to over sideboard, and those 4 Rending Volleys is really a testament to, okay, those matchups are bad, and that is sort of all of what I'm doing there. So if you're someone at home who likes to throw decks, try not to over sideboard. You're going to dilute your deck just a bit too much. Let's check out what Andrea has. I keep saying Andrea. As we have Extinction Event ×3, 2 Duress, 2 Noxious Grass, 2 Pithy Needle, 2 Reckoner Bankbuster, 2 Unlicensed Hearse, a Braid, and a Ritual of Soot. Dom, what do you like in this matchup?
So here I can imagine most of these cards having some kind of use, but the Duresses I think are important. Just attack the Ascendancy. Rakdos famously are not good at hitting enchantments. You kind of need your Invoke Despairs like we saw in the first round to compete with those. So getting rid of Ascendancy is the utmost priority. And then Unlicensed Hearse can break up some of these graveyard synergies. And then some of these 1-for-1 removal spells, like do you want a Braid? Do you want stuff like Noxious Grasp? Could see diversifying your removal suite that way. And then Pithy Needle as well, actually. Needle can shut down not just one Emry, but all the Emrys. Same thing with Rona as well, right? Or Skrelv. So the Needle's not there for this matchup, but could actually do some good work here, I think.
Yeah, Pithy Needle is such an all-star card in sort of sideboards like this because it has its spots like mono green. We're very happy to have it. But then sometimes, you run into the Rona Ascendancy deck in round 3 and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy to have such a flexible and cheap sideboard card. And that's why you see Rakdos players, move between 1 and 2 of this in their sideboard a lot. And we're going to have to see exactly how those players do it as they are shuffling up here for game number 2. And it's going to be exciting. Taylor's deck is very impressive. Taylor, I think, beat Rakdos Midrange last round, too. So this isn't a situation where Taylor, is just finally hit Rakdos, whatever. Okay, your deck can't pass the bar. No, Taylor has actually taken down this deck in the previous rounds. And, that's why Taylor brought this deck to the tournament. You don't bring a deck that you think doesn't have at least some game against Rakdos. I like that her jacket matches the sleeves.
That is nice. A little coordination there. Love to see that.
Mm-hmm. Style. Interesting. Her eyes got really big when she looked at her hand. So I wonder if this is a hand that has a lot of sideboard cards and low lands. And I wonder what's going on there. She sort of had a moment as we do see Seachrome Coast into Pithing Needle. Taylor's like, hey, you think you're a Pithy Needle deck? I am. And we'll get confirmation on what that's naming. I'm going to guess Reckoner Bankbuster might be Liliana the Veil. We'll have to see.
Yeah, you almost don't want to play that one in the dark before you know which of the cards your opponent is relying on. But this suggests to me Taylor is setting up for something like a turn 2 Emry potentially and just need that artifact there for the discount.
Yeah, I agree. As we're going to see a Duress here, and it's double Treasure Cruise, just guessing to see Rona land. And all right, looks like Taylor was leaving themselves the option to top deck an Emry.
Okay, so I would be strongly inclined to take the Ascendancy here, just get rid of that problem altogether, and then you don't really want to take one cruise because the other one is right there. So I think that Ascendancy is heading to the bin like its brethren from game one.
Yeah, you won last game when they cast a bunch of treasure cruise and did a bunch of digging. Don't let that happen, this game. Do not let the Ascendancy maybe pop off here, as it looks like we are going to take a treasure cruise. One reason that might be the case is maybe she has a Necromancia type card and is looking to cast that, or maybe has, another discard spell. It's like, well, I know I'm going to take one of these treasure cruises eventually, so I'm going to start taking the Jeskai Ascendancy now. We'll have to see exactly what her plan is. Because it does look like she does have another duress. It looks like Portable Hole was the draw for turn.
So with these discard spells and the Rona, we're not that far away from just casting the treasure cruise, right? Before too long.
Yeah. That's actually a great point. I wonder if maybe you're supposed to take the cruise now. I think leaving the Jeskai Ascendancy is very awkward, but inversely, if you have like a Fatal Push in hand, you can kill this Rona, and you take the cruise now, Taylor's sort of out of gas, right? So we'll have to see here. Obviously, the game could go long, but yeah, she did have the Fatal Push. Okay, so we're going to have to see here.
Okay, right, Jugantha to hand.
Yeah.
That's a backup plan, if ever I saw one.
Yeah, not the default plan. And Liliana Veil, yeah, that's going to be awkward on low cards, but it does turn on Treasure Cruise for turn here for Taylor.
Yeah, I kind of wish we had that Pithing Needle now, either to discard or to name the Liliana, but as it is. Yeah.
And it looks like, I think Taylor drew Jeskai Ascendancy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a Jeskai Ascendancy. Okay, that's really good here. So it wasn't the turn we Treasure Cruise. We still have another card in hand. As long as we don't get Thoughtseized here, we're going to have some big pop-off turns as Jugantha goes to the graveyard. Sokenzan is the discard. And yeah, Jeskai Ascendancy, sort of a staple of these older formats, is a fringe combo deck. But when it does get its sort of synergies going on both halves of the card, it has proven to be a really powerful card.
Yeah, the problem with the Ascendancies here, though, is if you don't have cards to pair it with, creatures on the board, spells in hand, then it's not really getting you anywhere. So this is a nice start, right? Like Cruise, and we're going to loot again with the Ascendancy, but we need stuff to pair with it. We don't have that just yet.
Yep, as we do see a JVP discarded to the loot off Jeskai Ascendancy, and then a draw 3 here. I'd be pretty worried if my opponent discarded JVP against me. It's like, all right, hold up. I do have this Liliana that can answer it, but that is a powerful card. As we do see Mox Amber come down and get a loot going. Looking maybe for a land this turn or something?
Yeah, the Jace, it's a little tricky in the face of an onboard Liliana, right? Where that thing can minus, which maybe is fine. Like, you don't want that thing getting to 6 and then ultimating. So maybe that's a sacrifice we have to make. But
okay. So Pithing Needle is naming something that wasn't Bankbuster or Liliana Veil. Maybe we can get confirmation. Oh, what was that, Floor Judge? Oh, it was Unlicensed Hearse. Okay, sure. That's a reasonable name from Taylor there. Very common sideboard card. She does have 2 in her deck, so that makes sense.
Makes some sense as well with 2 copies of Treasure Cruise in your opening hand, where Act of Hearse is going to blank both of those. So makes sense, but getting punished here with a different card with very powerful abilities that we wish we could shut off instead.
Yeah. This is another spot where Mutavault might let you double spell here and get a little pressure going. Although if you do that, you won't be able to draw with the Bankbuster. And we're really close to the ultimate.
Well, okay, knew it. We knew it.
Yeah, I like this actually because you could play it and then like maybe swip with the Pithing Needle, but it looks like she wants to start banging in here for some damage because even if she ultimates Liliana, there's no guarantee that the game is going to be over.
Well, the other nice thing about this Rakdos Midrange deck is between Bloodtithe Harvester, Favorite Breaker, and now Liliana, if you draw a dead card, it's not rotting in your hand. You can actually find a productive use for it at some point.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of rotting in hand, Taylor's Treasure Cruises would never, as another one was found. So we're going to loot and then draw 3 more. It looks like we discarded a land to the loot. And, Taylor might be getting ultimate this turn. We might just see, a tick up and try to go to 7. But Taylor's going to have enough resources to probably battle through Liliana ultimate. Just a matter of, can we get a clock on board to not give Taylor that time? Really interesting game here. This sort of feels like, a real testament to Taylor's deck. Whether Taylor wins or loses, got all the key cards sort of destroyed in the early turns, right? We obviously we had 3 power cards and Treasure Cruise, and then Jeskai Ascendancy, and we lost 2 of them, and we got our Rona Fatal Push, but still really battling right now. Through all of that happening and a Liliana, kind of a testament to what this deck could do. As we do see Bank Buster activated. Trying to figure out if we want to ultimate the Liliana, and if we do, what exactly we want to take. For all you Zoomers who are not used to Liliana sticking around for forever because you minus it to kill Fable the Mirror Breaker, you pick 2 piles. You make 2 piles, sorry, and the opponent picks 1 to keep, and the other all gets sacrificed. And,
so yeah, we could see, you know, splitting Ascendancy against some of the lands, so to really force a tough choice here. Could cut Taylor off an entire color potentially if you put the coast in one pile and then the Izzet lands in the other pile. So lots of ways to eat that Reese's.
Oh, Retraction Helix was the discard. You know, if Taylor had a creature in play, we could have seen Retraction Helix bounce the Liliana to get off the board, but wasn't in play, so it wasn't an available option to us. Taylor really needs to flicker this Pithing Needle. Maybe this needs to be a Yorion deck instead, Dom.
Okay, I'm in to turn anything into a Yorion deck, if you know me, so I'm interested.
You know me, I'm a big fan of Yorion too, so you know we're going to get on this one for our RCs. As we do see an Emry come down, milling another Emry, another Rona, and 2 lands. As we do see the 4th Treasure Cruise. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, when you are drawing and looting 5 cards a turn, like Taylor has been, these sort of things do happen, but is fortunate and does sort of show what the power of this deck can be. So it looks like we are going to keep a copy on the Jeskai Ascendancy just to note how big our Emry is there. That's a good way to denote it. And remember, Taylor has Bitter Reunion in the deck.
It would get very tricky in Standard where you would be playing Ascendancy with cards like Monastery Mentor, and all of these cards are different sizes depending on when they came in, and it got very messy very fast. So having a clear accounting system for that is a good spot.
Yeah. Here's Third Path Iconoclast. Looks like we're going to see a response. Yeah, we're actually cool with it. Yeah.
So now, Andrew's got to find a way to kill this Emry, and that might just be, wait, okay, Bitter Reunion. So, all right, okay, does have the Timely Abrade.
That's, yeah, very good there. It is going to still trigger. So it looks like what they're doing is they're leaving the dice on 1, because while it should be at 2, these creatures weren't buffed before. So for the sake of, you know, game state, yeah, as soon as you strike twice, but these creatures all have only been buffed once. So not worrying too much about that. Looks like we're figuring out, you know, if we have a land, I don't think we played a land for turn. Looks like we're resolving the Bitter Reunion and the Jeskai Ascendancy loot. Unsure what exactly. Oh, looks like, yeah, so we resolved the loot from Ascendancy. Now we're deciding what we're going to rummage away with Bitter Reunion. And if we hit a red land, we can haste up and make it so this Liliana doesn't get to ultimate next turn without dying, at least. Well, actually, no, it just would just it would die because of the buff.
Okay, there's Hallowed Fountain. We're going to shock that in, and yeah, we're going to get. Oh, just casting Emry. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, maybe they drew off the Bitter Reunion and I just missed it. That might be on me. But yeah, that is, everything's on board. So if we ultimate this Liliana, half of it will no longer, well, in theory, half of it will no longer be on board. The piles will be picked and made. We might see lands versus.
Yeah, now it's an interesting spot, right? Like, how do you split this up?
Yeah, I wonder, you know, with your opponent using all their treasure cruises, I kind of think lands versus is the play. Like maybe you put like one land.
That might be what Andrea is leaning towards here, just as a first pass, kind of separating out the land and the spells, and then Mox Amber, honorary land, going to join that pile.
Yeah. Maybe you can put like the Pithing Needle into the land pile too, because you just don't care about Unlicensed Hearse. Or like if you do care, like because of Treasure Cruise or whatever. So
yeah, the problem is I don't think you can afford to leave Ascendancy and Emry there together, because those can go off potentially even without access to any lands. If you if you have these 0-cost artifacts like Tormod's Crypt sacrificing itself, or 2 copies of Mox Amber looping each other, you can just go off from that board state. So
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, Taylor maybe having the
wow.
Amber go to the graveyard would have been beneficial. Looks like Taylor's gonna keep the lands. Interesting. Yeah, I would think that Emry just buys back the Mox Amber and you have a mana. It's obviously not perfect. You're facing a lot of damage, but what are you gonna draw now to get out of this?
Yeah, so what's the plan here, I wonder?
I am not sure. Maybe there is a 4th Treasure Cruise and we were mistaken on the Treasure Cruise count. I think we've used all 4. That would be the card I would think of normally. Like, okay, we're going to Treasure Cruise into something. We can unearth Mishra's research desk. All right.
Okay, so we can cast Ascendancy, but then we're just dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
It looks like we died there. So, interesting round. We're going to get an interview here with our winner on Rakdos Midrange. But yeah, what a real strike from the deck there from Taylor. I mean, Taylor didn't ultimately end up winning any of the games or the match, but really showed like, hey, my deck sort of can power through and look at these strong things. It just didn't quite come together that game, but you could easily imagine, we draw an Ascendancy in game 1, or things work out slightly differently there. We Pithing Needle, we hold the Pithing Needle because maybe we have a different 1-drop we want to play. All those things that work out really differently, and we might have seen a very different outcome here. That's sort of the cool part about Magic, is your skill can really shine through in those ways. But I think that deck looks very impressive so far.
Yeah, if you think about what happened in that second game, Taylor played a Needle, which ended up being on a card that didn't really show up, so it was down a card from that, and then got Duress twice and had a creature Fatal Push in the first 2 turns, and was still able to kind of slog through that on the back of Treasure Cruise, which one of the most broken cards in all of Pioneer. I think a lot of people kind of baffled that it's still legal, even though it's not as popular as it once was. And you're kind of seeing there why that card has been pretty dangerous in formats across the years, especially in conjunction with Jeskai Ascendancy.
Yeah. I mean, that's another card, right, that we've seen in the past where there have been talks to remove that card from certain points in modern history, right? Actually, early on with Treasure Cruise and Jeskai Ascendancy, that was a thing that players were comboing together. And now we're seeing that here in Pioneer. And it's really powerful and really impressive. And obviously, there's a lot of Treasure Cruise in the Treasure Cruise in that last game we just saw. But, imagine spots where we just, draw different cards. We don't have to Treasure Cruise and Treasure Cruise, right? It's just a situation where we got sort of the high roll potential, and maybe getting on board would have been better for us. So, things looked really bad there, but ultimately came through. And I think we're ready for our interview. I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure our producer will let us know when the time comes. And boom, we're here. Congratulations on the win. How you feeling?
Good. A little stressed out, but it was a good one. And always happy to get the 2-0 for sure.
Nice. You said stressed out there. So did you have any idea sort of what was going on in the early turns there? Because we saw you sort of like pick up their graveyard when they cast Jeskai Ascendancy and take a look-ski poo. What was sort of going through your head?
No, I tested against that deck a little bit. One of my local friends here is on that deck, so I knew basically what was going on there. Just trying to make sure, looking through their graveyard, trying to understand, sort of what concentration of resources they have to get to their combo, and if the cards in the graveyard are pieces that they would need in order to get there. And so really just trying to understand. I think it's really important against that deck to understand what's in play, what's in their graveyard, and then the number of cards that they have in hand, because that tells you a lot about what they, the options they really have to combo off.
Take us through that game 1, because it seemed like you were really swimming upstream for most of that game, and then somehow we were able to kind of gradually stabilize and eke it out, even though we mentioned, if Andrea draws shielded at any point, then that's going to be a big deal. Lots of these good draws. Didn't really find any of those, but we're able to get it done regardless.
Yeah, I think I really scrapped together game 1. Didn't really have the the big game changer pieces, the Shieldred, etc. But eventually was able to scrap together Fable and Blood Tithe Harvester, and that combo just would slowly eat away at their board. They don't really have any ability to attack, and if I can eat away at their board, they can't again build that concentration of resources they need to combo off. So assembling that essentially put me in a position where I think me and my opponent agreed the match could go on for another 10 minutes, but it was pretty clear what the result was.
And then in that game too, towards the end, you had this interesting choice where their board was absolutely cluttered. You have a Liliana ready to ultimate, but now you have to choose how do you divide up these piles to lock up the game. Take us through your thought process there, and then whether you were surprised by the choice. Because we were thinking in the booth, well, if Taylor gets a keep, Ascendancy plus Emry, even without any lands in play, that could be enough to translate into a kill potentially.
Yeah, so there was a couple decisions I made there. I think sort of first decision was I want to force them to either choose the ability to make mana or the ability to, have this pile of resources available to do their thing. I was under the impression that it would be better for them to choose the pile of resources as well. So the creatures and all those things. They have the Emry on the board. I had Bone Crusher Giant in hand. I was, trying to push them to take the Emry. The Emry pile, I stomped the Bone Crusher Giant, and they're basically they just can't really do anything. And then I can slowly beat them away. Otherwise, they take the lands, and I have a 2-turn clock, and we're just good to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with the Bone Crusher Giant. We didn't see that in your hand there. So putting the Mox Amber in the land pile is actually very tempting, right? If your opponent's like, oh, well, I have Emry, well, then great, who cares? I'm going to make a bunch of blue mana. You're going to die, nice deck. But instead, you sort of trick them into it. So that was a very well played moment there for you. How are you feeling so far in the event? You're 3-0 so far. We didn't get to see in the earlier rounds, but what's been going on? How's the event been going and having fun?
Yeah, early rounds were strong. I feel good about the event so far. Played Niv Mizzet round 2. I think that deck keeps some tough hands, so that was good. And played Red Black round 1, and that was I just drew better. So yeah, I mean, overall feeling pretty good. Excited. 5 more rounds here, so just hoping not to fall apart.
Nice, we love it. Yeah, and you're making a sort of run at our series this year, right? Like we saw you do very well back in Chicagoland just 2 months ago. Is this something where we're expecting to see you a lot this year? Is that like a fair assessment? Where's sort of your head out when it comes to the NRG series and making it around our leaderboard?
Gosh, I would love to make a run at the leaderboard. Trying to figure out if I'm if I'm of the right stuff to do it. So we'll see how this weekend goes, and if it goes well, we'll keep grinding.
Great. Well, so far you're killing it. If you just never lose, you'll do very well when it comes to the NRG series. So we'll see you around. We're gonna go catch up our backup feature match because we've got a spicy one over there for us.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, and we'll see you around. It's great to have her in the booth here and had a conversation. We are actually at the end of the round. So we're going to go on break. Sorry, I thought we had a little bit of time. Time flew there in that last match. I thought we still had a little bit. But we can figure out who the winner of that was and let you know later. Dom did tell us game 1 was won by the Convoke player. Maybe we'll have to catch him on the secret backup match later or
Look,
main match.
I knew we weren't going to have time to get there.
Oh, smart. You were planning ahead. I like that. Playing to your outs,
So
Dom. That's very good. Do you know who won by chance, Dom?
Well, I'm going to keep that to myself. That's only for the
okay.
premium subscribers. Yeah.
I like that. Well, hey, if you want to, follow the Twitch channel. That way you don't miss any of the exciting magic happening here. And we'll be back in just 3 minutes.